All right, great. Hey, welcome to this little presentation about Beamer as a PMF device and so on. There's a little bit of confusion in the marketplace as what Beamer is, what it does out there in the marketplace and so on and so forth. And other companies in the field of PMF, pulsatile electromagnetic field device, are also out there selling their devices and their products, some for practitioners and also for lay people out there. So I wanted to shed some light, but before I get started, please understand that this is not an official voice of Beamer USA or Beamer International AG. Just for clarification, albeit I'm going to share with you the message comparing Beamer and other devices and so on as a rebuttal, perhaps, to some companies out there that you find on the internet. Understand there is a CI'd corporate image PowerPoint, but this is only me. I'm an independent distributor with Beamer, and this is an independent opinion as any other opinion. So with that, guys, let's go down this thing to find out and talk a little bit about Beamer, okay? So Beamer is a bright technology indeed, okay? It's one of these disruptive technology that comes once in a great while and has the potential, really, to affect the human body as nothing else been seen out there. It's a category creator because Beamer fills in that unique device in the marketplace that no other devices that we've seen have done before. But Beamer is a PMF. From an industrial classification, Beamer is a PMF, meaning what? Beamer is a pulsatile electromagnetic field device. There is a coil, there is some electrons that pulsate in back and forth as they go in a coil, creating a field. But Beamer, it is not about that. And hopefully we can shed some light why we went that way and why we're not like other PMF devices. And for a starter, PMF goes way back, goes about a century ago. The Russians excel in PMF and vibrational medicine and so on. Their space program is notorious, very famous for that. They have known that for many, many, many years. And other countries, part of that Soviet bloc during the Cold War era, primarily Czechoslovakia, today is the Czech Republic, and we have East Germany and also Hungary. Those are the countries that have championed the technology of PMF as it comes to, from a therapeutic standpoint, from a clinical standpoint, as affecting the human body, because we know the body is not only chemistry, but also is electrical in nature, right? And after the Cold War, other countries, primarily Germany, have jumped into it, and because they're obviously, the wall have fallen down, and East Germany and West Germany, they reconciliate, and brothers and sisters and cousins, reunited. And then they brought all what they have learned in that experience, and among which is Germany's PMF understanding and knowledge and so on. Switzerland also jumped into the fray, and other countries like Austria as well. So this technology, PMF, is quite known. It's coming from Europe. Chinese have other devices and so on, but not PMF. Beamer, it's really coming from excuse me here for a second. Here we go. This is our headquarters. And you know what? I strongly suggest those of you who are in Beamer to go and visit the headquarters. The first thing that's going to jump at you, this headquarters in Liechtenstein, the international headquarters of Beamer, is there is no assembly line, no conveyor belt. Everything is handcrafted. Every single Beamer is made by hand. And ladies and gentlemen, German engineering and Swiss craftsmanship, I don't need to explain those two terms and what it means in terms of engineering, in terms of quality assurance and quality control. Those folks know how to build devices, whether they're cars, watches, or PMF devices like Beamer. So we come in from Liechtenstein, and our intellectual property and what Beamer mechanism of action, furthermore, I will tell you a little bit what that means, have been protected by 5 intellectual patents, five international patents. And as you could see in here on the slide, our whole body applicator, the Beamer Signal, 1998, Beamer Plus Signal, 2006, the signal configuration of that wave resonance, right, and the sleep program. So this is a proprietary technology that no other company has it. And why is it important to really preface this presentation for what much going to happen for the next few minutes? It's because as soon as we do a presentation in a field and we talk about our beamer with our prospects, friends, relatives, colleagues, associates, unfortunately, or fortunately, that's just the nature of the human in us, we go home and we start consulting with Dr. Google and Dr. YouTube, right? To find out if it's truly what they have learned from this presenter in Beamer, that's really what's this all about. And unfortunately, as we're doing so, we're going to expose ourselves to the danger of the internet. And one of the miracles of the internet, sometimes for good or for bad, is what's called the SEOs, the search engine optimization. So there are companies really hiding, literally, behind the computers, programming themselves in terms of sequential searches when you go on Google or YouTube trying to find out about is Beamer good technology and whatnot, and you find some companies, and specifically the company here at the bottom, IMRS, you're going to find out they show up first and they say, you know what, folks? Before you get to buy Beamer, first read about Beamer and IMRS, and you're going to come to the conclusion that IMRS is a better device for lesser money. That could not be no further from the truth. Because in reality, what are we going to do in here? I'm going to share with you the study, and then we're going to dig into a little bit, perhaps as a soft rebuttal to the conversation. And to be honest with you, we do not really have to answer to that. You know, typically, in my opinion, when it comes to engineering and to invention and novelty, when the market coming after you and comparing themselves to usually is to the leader. You don't see other leaders comparing themselves to other companies. It's always the other way around. So it's a sign of, you know, of success, and certainly is flattering. However, that being said, and it's unfortunate, some of the folks that were very much interested in buying their devices for their own clinical health and so on have fallen a prey, so to speak, victims to that kind of comparison, which is, by the way, completely irrelevant and erroneous, you know, at best in terms of comparison. And so Beamer in February 20th, 2013, they have sponsored an independent comparative analysis or study with 12 subjects. It's a long study. And they have, you know, compared Beamer, in this case, Beamer Classic is not even the Beamer Professional, against all the other devices, the 5 devices, from the Magnetar, Impulsor, to Magnum, Senti Plus, and the IMRS. And here are the findings. See, that's what I appreciate so much in science, because it's either factual, either pans out, or it doesn't. So let's find out the findings of these studies. They measured all these parameters and the characteristics, namely oxygen, nutrients, bioavailability, and elimination of waste, CO2, and all of these metabolic end products. Basically, the claim that Beamer is bringing to the marketplace. And that claim is sustained by a rich backdrop of science, of empirical studies, double-blind clinical studies, placebo-induced controlled studies, peer-to-peer reviewed, that we can find in a public domain out there like PubMed.gov. But nonetheless, let's see how well we've done against these devices. And you know what? If a picture is 1,000 words, certainly this one will fulfill that promise, right? Look at this. Beamer outclassed and outranked largely, meaning that even the closest second, device number 4, they were not even in the vicinity. And sometimes I kind of laugh about it because it is not really fair to compare our Beamer to the other PMF devices, because they were not devised or invented or constructed or manufactured to affect blood flow, to affect the hemodynamics in the capillary bed, to affect microcirculation, as ours was devised to be. And that's our Class 2 clearance in Europe, and recently in Canada by Health Canada is a Class 2 clearance. That means we have proven our mechanism of action, our method of action, as the other companies have nothing more, nothing less, but simply a PEMF device. And in Beamer, really, if you really want to push this envelope and this conversation, Beamer gives you a 2-4-1. It's going to give us all the PMF, all the other devices claiming that it gives you, but also we get about blood flow and circulation that none of the other devices can talk about because they do not have that right to address. They have not been proven. They were not, again, devised for that purpose. So you get to see that. But look at this. On the third day, they decided to stop the influence on all these wave resonance from all these devices to find out what's what the residual or the oxidizing effect of that signal and see how high or how low it will go on all the devices. And I'm here very pleased to tell you on day 4, our residual effect is higher than the therapeutic effect of all the other devices. This is huge if you understood really this study. And we have those studies available to give to all people who are interested to further their understanding about these devices like Beamer and so on and so forth. So it's very clear, certainly through this independent comparative study, that we're not like the IMRS. We're not like the Terra Magnum, the Centi Plus, the Magnometer. We're not a PMF as such. Industrial classification, true. We are a PMF. We have a coil. There are electrons that circulate and create a field. This is true. But that's not our secret sauce. That's not what we claim in the marketplace. And so, therefore, the comparison is truly an apple and oranges comparison. It's a little bit like this. Let me walk you to some fun in here. It's like you take a radio, for example, a radio player. Let's assume the radio player is this PMF. And then within a radio player, you have a spectrum, right? Either an AM spectrum or an FM spectrum. Let's talk about FM. FM is a frequency modulation spectrum. It starts at the bottom of the band at 88 and goes as high as 107, 108, right? That's the PMF. So what the other devices are saying, yeah, well, Beamer is like us. It's a radio player. But we are about the dial, the specific frequency. So let's assume if our frequency is 91.5, just as an example, because we are interested in that radio, we like the type of music it plays, and we get accustomed to it. If that radio, our radio, breaks down and we go buy a radio in a marketplace, we are interested not particularly in a radio as much as we are interested in that particular dial. You guys following the analogy in here? So if I bought a radio from the market and I put it on, I'm looking immediately for that 91.5, and if I cannot find that clear signal, that clear station, how happy would I be with that radio? I would be packing it up in the same box that it came in and bring it back to the store. That's really the analogy. So Beamer is a particular wave resonance. It's a signature wave. It's a specific wave energy, that 40 amplitude per second and a ground signal of 30 hertz that gives us 1,200 stimulation peaks per second that no one has. Not even actually NASA. And that's why NASA was very much interested in our technology, in our program. Here's another analogy. So we can compare cars, right? Here's a Formula One, the type that you find in race, you know, like the Grand Prix and so on and so forth. And here's another car. This is a Cadillac CTS, right? Both of them are cars. But if we compare these two cars, there is no comparison other than what? Their common denominator, yes, they have a chassis, they have a frame, they have a body, they have 4 wheels, they have a steering wheel, a gearbox, an engine, but that's where the analogy stops. Because that's a sedan for a different function. The other one is a high-speed car, high-performance car for a complete different function. So that's the difference between Beamer and all the other PMF devices. Yeah, it's true, they're cars. It's true, they're PMFs. But one is not absolutely, they're mutually exclusive, in other words, because this car is different than the others. Our Beamer device, our PMF device is completely different. And you know, the comparisons start talking about the coil. Their coil is round, our coil is elongated, and it's this and it's that. It's kind of completely ridiculous. The reason why we have this coil, this is the prerogative of the manufacturer. We have a rhyme and reason of how we design things. So let's dig into it. This coil, the reason why Beamer used this coil and used PMF is because of the ease of penetrance, okay? That means we could have used electrons, we could have used photons, we could have used other carrier like laser, ultrasound, infrared. We could have used all these to carry our signal. We decided to go PMF and this type of coil because of the ease of penetrance. Also because of the flexibility of use. This is very flexible. When I visited Liechtenstein for a couple times, we went there in the factory and they gave us this coil and said, go ahead, try to break them if you can. It was pretty impressive. I remember, I took them in my hand and twist and twist and twist. And the technician started laughing. He goes, unless you use a scissor or a knife, you're not going to hurt these coils. And that's the reason why they were like that designed. Also, better coverage. As you see, the long one here will affect your whole entire leg. And that's the reason why it's elongated, and so on and so forth. Better durability, as I just explained, and a better cost. Imagine if our signal, our well-coveted signal invention, right, of that particular resonance that Beamer owns, imagine if we carried it through or emanated with a laser. Let me tell you, Beamer won't cost $6,000. It will be 3, 4, 5, 6 times more expensive. So PMF coil, copper coil, right, with a shield and so on and so forth, is much cheaper. It makes much more sense in terms of cost if we are interested to sell it to the end user, not just to healthcare practitioners, hospitals, clinics, and so on. And that's the reason why we use this. So, in my opinion, these companies, that they trying to find themselves kind of jealous a little bit. Sorry, I have to say that. They're kind of jealous of our successes and so on we get in the marketplace and the results we get in with people from the health standpoint. They wanted to jump the fray, the bandwagon, right? But it's kind of lousy because they're confusing a lot of people with an unfair and completely erroneous comparison. So folks, here is why Beamer was created. Beamer therapy focuses on the core systems necessary for well-being, which is the circulatory system. That's it. No other PMF devices can legally, don't make it, confusing and try to pull the wool over people's eyes, talking about the coil, placement, material. All that is smoke screen. Come straight up and talk about it. Say, can you affect circulation as Beamer does? And it's not. We are the only company with the only technology, and we have a specific patent to protect us. And here is the patent of that Beamer signal. That's what Beamer is about, and that's why you folks should be interested in investing in one of the most amazing wellness devices. It's because of this signal. Not because it's PMF, it's because of this signal. And because this signal is so powerful, our principal investigator and scientist, Dr. Rainier Christian Klopp, said in his own word, Beamer is the most effective and widely researched physical vascular, folks, therapy method available today. That's what we should really hang our hat on. And incidentally, that's why NASA, mighty NASA, are you kidding me? NASA has the smartest, brightest physicists, astrophysicists, institutions like MIT and Cal Polytech. They understand physics. When they run through their numbers and so on, they say, wow, I don't know how they did that signal. That's the thing. And you're talking about an agency that can make a PMF device in their lunch break, literally. It's not really that complicated to make a PMF device. They're the inventor of their own wave resonance called the square wave. So when they saw this and they saw the signal, they didn't say, oh, it's a PMF device, let's compare it to ours. They said, wow, this is amazing. And since you cannot beat them, then join them. And that's what they did. And that's ultimate validation. So I want to make sure that you guys, when you see that comparison on the internet, please understand that it's more than meets the eye. because that's an apple and oranges comparison, and they're trying to confuse you out there at best. I know so many people bought those IMRSs, and I'm not saying IMRS is a bad device. I'm not saying that at all. Probably has its own legitimate claim, and probably through a practitioner can use that device, and maybe even they could get some of the therapeutic effect that they claiming to have. But if you compare them for the aim of circulation, don't buy that device. You're simply buying the wrong device. It's like buying a Formula One car for you to do grocery shopping during the week. Kind of people, going to look at you kind of, I mean, imagine somebody with a Formula One showing up, in a grocery store parking lot. They said, well, this is kind of different, right? So it is that comparison that confused a lot of people, unfortunately. And so Beamer is a category of one. We're not about a PMF, albeit we are a PMF device. We are all about the patented Beamer signal. So folks, a lot of recognition in here. We've been recognized, we've been used in hospitals, universities, and so on. There's a big project out there in Europe, and certainly it's brand new here in the US, and our job is to let the world know that there is such thing as can help people with their circulation and so on and so forth, and could get those health results that they are looking, health and wellness results that they're looking for, many awards and so on and so forth. So yes, indeed, Beamer is a bright technology. And so with that, guys, thank you. I hope it was not that boring. I'm done.